Hey guys, I'm back. I want to talk a little bit about music and the elements. And the reason why, me growing up in an urban community, um, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Me growing up in an urban community, it was one style or majority style music that the community as a whole mostly listened to. Even though in my household we did have other styles of music, but for the majority of a community life, it was one style of music. And music can be very important or is very important to spirituality, but it can also keep you trapped in a certain level. And I do have notes. If you see me looking off to the side, I'm looking at my notebook because I don't have all of them memorized. It's a lot up here, so this is not everything. I don't have everything memorized. So you see me look off to the side, I am looking at my notes. But one of the things that we don't realize is that people who live in urban communities, it's not just a color thing, it's actually an economical community thing. People who live in urban communities, they're not exposed to, or I should say they're not readily exposed or easily exposed to operas and things of that nature. And most of the music they listen to has a heavy drum beat or has a heavy drum beat, guitar beat, things like that. And those are great, but they only deal with two types of elements. And the problem with dealing with two types of elements, they only keep you on two to three chakras. And with those two or three chakras that it keeps you in, it keeps your spirituality locked in survival mode. And I'll explain. The drums are connected to the earth element. And with the drums being connected to the earth element, that's a base element that you need. It connects you to your root chakra, which is your basic survival skills and, basically just skills to survive. The guitar or any string instrument, most string instruments are connected to the element of fire. And with that, they're connected to the element of fire, but with that, it's even though it's element of fire and your sacral chakra is more so the element of water, it still connects you on a lower level because then the element of fire connects to the solar chakra in a way. But it connects to the element of water, which is your sacral chakra. And your sacral chakra is really where, other than the primordial energy you came here with, the sacral chakra is really where you create or build more energy. And I'll talk about that in another video because that goes into Tantra and other things. But the sacral chakra is one of the places where you really build more energy to get things done. Now, with that, though, the elements connected to water are, and I have to look because I'm not really familiar with the water elements, are cymbals, sistrums, bells, and these help balance out your emotions and help bring in healing. But these water elements are not really in urban style music. They're not really in, they're in more so operas, may or may not be in rock depending on the band. They're into other styles of music, and you don't get that. And this is why a lot of times people are emotionally unbalanced. They're emotionally unstable. They're highly sexually active physically, but don't have any spiritual connection to what they're doing. What's another way of saying it? They're off balance, basically. It keeps you, the music itself, just by that, it keeps you in the lower chakras. And the ancient times, they knew when they did their rituals, when they had their ceremonies, when they had their parties, it wasn't just one element there. And if there was no instruments at all, they used the body. The feet was the base. Your lungs, that's the air. The singing, that's the water. That's the water coming out. The singing, putting your holy emotion in it. And then it builds up to the connection. I'm missing one. Earth is feet, the drum, or anytime you're making a drum noise. You have the water, which is, the emotional connection as you feeling it, as you flowing with it. It's the water inside your body that's getting you moving. You have the air, which is communication, which is talk, earth, air, fire, which is what builds up when you're doing this because your body gets warm. So your body can naturally do this on its own, and we knew that. And as we added in elements to make these sounds to grow or elevate these vibrations, we made them certain ones to connect to certain elements. And we did this for a reason because we knew all elements together creates an opening and a portal to the ethereal world or the spiritual world, whichever way you want to call it, and then we could connect to higher information or higher beings, spirit guides, whatever, to communicate and get higher information for what we need and what we need to do, or what may be about foreseeing going down that we need to be prepared for. But with that, like I said, in music in most of the urban communities or the urban communities that I grew up in, is missing. They're missing the air element, which is that communication. They're missing that water element, or if it has an element of a water element to it, it's too much of it. It's a disconnect in the lyrics that disconnects you from that I want to say love, but love actually means desire. So it disconnects you from having that energy of desire for whatever. And it's normally in relationships. And I can put my nose down for a second. It's normally in relationships. So, oh, sorry, my dog is right here. Say hi. Say hi. He's getting a little heavy on my leg. But you distracted me. Yes, you did. But like I said, it's a disconnect. So with that, what I really want to get out there is that we need to learn, and even outside urban communities, a lot of people won't listen to urban music or music with a lot of bass, and they'll just listen to drums. I mean, not drums. They'll listen to a lot of music with air elements, with flutes, and they may listen to guitars. But even that, they still it's out of place. You don't have all the elements when you listen to that music. So then, as your body start moving to this music, whether which style you like, when your body start moving to this music, you what's the word I'm looking for? You amplify certain parts, while the other parts are not amplified. They're kind of trapped because they don't have that extra oomph to get you going and get you connected into the spiritual realm. Now, again, I was raised in the church, so I am going to speak about the church, and I'm not saying this whether this is positive or negative. I'm just saying from fact. The church knows this. They may not consciously know this, but the people who build up the stereotypical church sermon, how it's supposed to go, know this. When you come in, the first thing you do, majority of the time, especially if it's a huge church, is praise and worship. They get your feet going. They get that blood pumped up. They get that water going. Then they start bringing in cymbals and guitars, and they start slowing it down, and you start hearing higher pitches. And this is to bring in that air element. And the next thing you know, you start seeing people, especially with the Baptist church, you'll start seeing people catch the Holy Ghost. And what it is that veil for them between them and the spiritual world, they now have broken through, because all the elements that came together amplified with the other elements in the music to open that portal for them to catch the quote-unquote Holy Ghost. And it is a true feeling. It is something they really do. A lot of them, let's be real, we know a lot of them do fake it. But there are a few that don't fake it. They really have this experience, and this is what keeps them coming back. And they don't realize that they can have the same experience at home. And some of them honestly don't need to have the experience at home. Like I said, I'm not speaking good or bad, to each his own. Everybody's in their own place for a specific reason. But I'm just letting you know that the church does know this. The church does do this. So there really is no difference between in the church and not the church, at a concert and a concert. But this is the reason why you need to listen to different, no matter where you're actually from, you need to listen to different styles of music. Different styles of music are connected to different elements. And when those elements all come together, they remove the veil between us and the spiritual realm so that we can get higher information. This is why it's always some type of music or some ceremony done before any type of, whether it be magical, or even if you have an altar at home, normally you have something that does a drum, something that shakes, something that's a fifth string, something that makes a clinking sound, higher pitch sound, lower pitch sounds. This is to get all the elements together. It's for a reason. So in the church, like I said, they do the same thing. It's always the drum beat first, and then you bring in the more emotional ones, and then you bring in the higher pitches, and then people start feeling the Holy Ghost and all this other stuff. And then the pastor normally walks in, and that's a whole other issue. It's a lot of rituals that go down in church that people have no clue that come from the pagan lifestyle. All of it actually comes from the pagan lifestyle, and people just don't realize it's the same thing. Just one's normally done around the fire, while the other one has electricity, which is a form of fire, and candles, which is still the same element, still the fire element. Electricity is the fire element people, but and actually it's kind of fire and earth, but mostly fire element people. But yes, I started to ramble a little bit. I could talk about the church for days. I have nothing against the church, but I do like I have something against ignorance. I have a real thing against ignorance. You know, if you want to go to church, that's great. If that's where you get your spiritual connection from, that's great. That's beautiful. But I do believe that you should go there with all knowledge and knowing exactly what you're getting into and exactly what you're accepting, and let you decide for yourself whether that's right or wrong. So I could talk about the church and the rituals that go down all day, every day. But I don't like to put it like most people try to do it in negative tone. I don't like to do it in negative tone because it has brought positive stuff in my life and it had a place for me in my life, kind of, sort of, kind of. Um, but for other people, I've seen it help them and I've seen them grow from it. I've also seen them be damaged from it. But it depends on the person. To each his own. For some it's for them, for some it's not. But back to what I was saying. When you get to music, you really do need to have different genres. And I know a lot of times, based on your community, you get clowned for different types of music. But if you notice, as you pull in different types of music, you'll also start pulling different levels of thinking that is different. And it will be different from the people around you, yes it will. Because now you're able to connect all the elements to access higher information that you wasn't able to access energetically wise before. So that is my video on music and the importance of it. And I hope I made that very clear. What was that? Peace.